Sundaran sir, good morning.
Good morning to you, dear Ranjit. Hi, dear Kalyan. How are you?
हाँ बोलिए. अच्छा ठीक ठीक. So we shall now start the proceedings. So, so all of us, if possible, we can switch on the videos and keep ourselves on mute. Switch on the videos, please. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, one and all. Today we have gathered online to be a part of AWAS per Samvad initiative of Government of India. The initiative is a part of Azadi Ke Amrit Mahotsav celebration. Let me first give a brief about the theme and then we shall proceed further. Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Urban mission was launched on 25th of June 2015, which intends to provide housing for all in urban areas by the year 2022. The mission intends to provide central assistance to the implementing agencies through state, union territories, and central nodal agencies for providing housing to all eligible families or beneficiaries against the validated demand for about 1.12 crore houses. The progress made by Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Urban till date is fantabulous. As on date, more than 1 crore houses have been either sanctioned or constructed. In view of the progress made under Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Urban, the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs proposes to conduct workshops and seminars termed Awas Par Samvad for multiple stakeholders, that is, urban practitioners, engineers, planners, architects, social scientists, students of management, faculty, academia, and others from 1st of July to 30th September 2021 through educational institutions like us and primary lending institutions or banks or housing finance companies in association with states and union territories to enable multiple stakeholders to learn about government policies, frameworks for future application and implementation of housing programs. Further, it also intends to sensitize and seek innovative ideas from the young minds of India. Being one of the reputed institutions of government of Bihar, we had taken this opportunity to conduct a panel discussion on the role of banks, housing finance companies, and microfinance institutions in facilitating access to finance for urban poor in all verticals of Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Urban under the theme Financial Inclusion. The objective of the panel discussion on financial inclusion aims to deliberate, discuss, disseminate shared learnings and knowledge amongst students of CIMP and other stakeholders. Since I have given a brief about the panel discussion, I shall now request Dean CIMP to deliver his welcome address.
Thank you, Professor Ranjit. Awas Par Samvad is a great initiative of Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, Government of India, to enable multiple stakeholders to learn about government policies for future application and implementation of housing program. Nearing milestone to achieve the set target within the deadline is a great achievement. And it is heartening to know that the achievement till date is more than a crore houses either constructed or sanctioned against a set target of 1.12 crore houses by the year 2022. This is an excellent example of very good project management also. I take this opportunity to congratulate Government of India and specifically Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs for this commendable job. Let me now introduce the panel members we have with us. Dr. Satyajit Rajan, Additional Secretary, Chief Secretary, Labor and Skill Development and Excise, Government of Kerala. Dr. Nalin Bharti, Professor of Economics, Head of the Department Humanities, IIT Patna. Dr. Prasad Sundarajan, Social Thinker and Author, Professor from CIMP, and Mr. Rahul Gupta, National Head, Treasury, Bajaj Housing Finance Limited, Pune. I am very happy that you all have agreed to be the speakers for this panel discussion today. I welcome you all and believe that we will have a fruitful discussion ahead. I also believe that the panel discussion will trigger young minds of CIMP to explore the dreams of large-scale government programs and further bring in new perspective in their dealings as professionals. Thank you.
I shall now invite the panel members for discussion. First, I would like to invite Professor Dr. Nalin Bharti, Professor of Economics from IIT Patna. The topic of his discussion is Transforming Dream of AWAS into Reality, Exploring New Role of Banks and Non-Banking Institutions. Dr. Nalin.
Yeah, so I'm trying to share my presentation. Is it visible now?
So you need to share. Please share the presentation. So you will find an icon, the fifth one. If you go fifth one.
Is it visible right now or not?
Yes, Nalin Bharti, I think the presentation is visible.
Visible, yes. So thank you very much, the entire team, for organizing this very timely and important discussion today. Uh, uh, why I'm selecting this topic as turning dream for AWAS into the reality, because still India has to achieve the target in urban area to provide houses uh, for uh, for the people who are low income group people, middle income group people, the slum dwellers, and such numbers are not going to stop, because as we know that India is a country where urbanization is very fast. The city like Patna is having large number of population migrating from the rural part of Bihar and reaching to Patna. And whenever I am crossing different flyovers or near the rail track, I am finding that people are using the boundary wall for making a very small temporary house. So this particular scheme, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana for urban community, is as it was mentioned in the introduction, that it was introduced on 25th June 2015, and the mission addresses the urban housing shortage among the economically backward and weak section of the people, low income group and middle income group categories, including the slum dwellers, by ensuring a pakka house. So why there is a need to have a pakka house? Because as we know that the kacha house, or the house made from the tin or the asbestos or by the plastic, I have seen varieties of innovations people are doing in making kacha houses in this country, because they are resource poor. So in a situation where majority of the migrant workers, migrant low-income group people, and also some of the middle-income group people who had some opportunity in the city, they are looking for a pakka house, and because this gives a very peaceful mind in terms of searching the employment, going for the employment, earning bread and butter in the city. And it is uh, not only the need of the hour, but it is one of the necessary conditions, the roti kapra makan, the concept which India has to achieve for everyone, and the sabka saath, sabka vikas, sabka viswas, and now sabka prayas. So this mission cannot be complete without having this inclusion in the society for those who have left out, those who are marginalized due to some reason, due to historical reason, due to cultural reason, due to the caste region, and due to any other reason. So I was going through what bank can do, and I was going through the government guidelines. So one of the point is the credit linked subsidy scheme for economically backward class and low income group people. So beneficiaries of economically weaker section and low income group people seeking houses loans from banks, housing finance companies, and other such institutions would be eligible for an interest subsidy at the rate of 6.5% of a tenure of 20 years, or during tenure of loan whichever is lower. So this particular credit link subsidy will be available only for loan amounts up to rupees 6 lakhs and additional loans beyond 6 lakhs. If any will be at a non-subsidized rate, credit linked subsidy would be available for housing loans, availed for new constructions, and also for the additions of the rooms, kitchen, toilets to existing dwellings as incremental housing. So this concept of Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana for the urban poor is not only including the new construction of the Pakka house, but also the construction of the existing houses with some other necessary facilities such as kitchen, toilet, or maybe the additional rooms if they want to have it. So the carpet area of house being constructed under this component of the mission should be up to 30 square meters and 60 square meters for economically backward section and the low income group respectively in order to avail of this credit linked subsidy. So the beneficiary at this stage, whether it is his or her discretion, can build a house of larger area, but interest subsidies will be limited to first 6 lakhs only. So I was also looking for the MIG guidelines. So for the MIG, it covers two income segment in MIG, 6 lakhs to 6 lakhs 1 rupees to 12 lakh and 12 lakh to 18 lakhs per annum. So in the MIG 1, an interest subsidy of 4% has been provided for loan amount up to rupees 9 lakh, while in MIG 3, an interest subsidy of 3% has been provided for loan amount of 12 lakhs. So the interest subsidy will be calculated at 9% NPV over a maximum loan tenure of 20 years or the actual tenure, whichever is lesser. So housing loans above 9 lakhs and rupees 12 lakh will be at non-subsidized rates. So this credit linked subsidy scheme CLSS for this medium income group will support acquisition, construction of houses, including repurchase of 160 square meters and 200 square meters carpet area as per income eligibility. So, who are basically the nodal agencies in this process? National Housing Bank, HUDCO, Housing and Urban Development Corporation, and also the State Bank of India are the nodal agencies to channelize this subsidy to the lending institutions and for monitoring the progress of this component. So Ministry is pointing out that it may be notifying other institutions as the central nodal agency when it is required in future. So the most important point which I would like to discuss today is what are the role of this new commercial banks and non-banking institutions in the process of urban household making urban houses under the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. So I'm finding the direct role and as well as the traditional role of commercial banks and the financial institutions in this process, and one of the direct role is the credit link subsidy, which I have talked about. So banks are, as we know that commercial banks has many great responsibility to nurse the society, and when Prime Minister Awas Yojana is providing that opportunity for the poor people, for the low income group people, for the slum dwellers, or for the middle income group people, then this subsidy is linked with the loan which they are also targeting from the commercial banks. So if they are unable to construct, then the bank can provide certain loan to those people, and the moment they will have, because it is a credit linked scheme. So if you are taking some credit from the bank, you will also have the subsidy in your account. And this affordable housing in partnership. So when there is a dream to have a house for those who cannot really fulfill this dream by their own effort, by their own resources, the commercial bank role becomes very important, and then making this dream into the reality is in the hand of the commercial banks and non-banking financial institutions, because you are directly involved in providing an opportunity for those who are houseless. So subsidy for beneficiaries led individual houses, constructions, enhancement, and those who are having a very small house, you are also uh, making them happy in terms of extending one more room or providing one more toilet or to rebuild the toilet or reconstruct the kitchen. So all these schemes are uh, linked with the credit, linked with the subsidy, and commercial banks becomes very prominent in fulfilling those dreams today. So rehabilitation, as we know that slum dwellers are uh, every day they are facing different challenge in their life, and using land as a resource through private participation for this type of rehabilitation scheme also the commercial banks can play and non-financial company can play important role. So I would like to link these direct role with the traditional role of the commercial bank. When we are reading uh, any any traditional books on banking and finance, we find out what are the different roles of the commercial banks, and out of those roles, we do find that uh, commercial bank is acting as an engine of balanced regional development. So within a region, for example, if uh, we are neglecting this part, we are not providing an opportunity, not providing the credit to those people to construct the house or to extend their house to make a pakka house in the city, we will always have inequality in our society. The people with house and people without house brings lots of crime opportunity in the city because there are certain expenditure that cannot be fulfilled if people are not really having a place to sleep, people are not having a place to eat, if people are mentally unstable, not satisfied, facing a very tragic situation in their life in terms of their in terms of their day-to-day uh, survival. In that case, we will certainly have a very different type of crime rates in the society. So the traditional role of commercial bank to balance the regional development and also the extending the size of the market and improving the standard of living of the people are basically the traditional role of commercial banks and non-banking financial institutions. So through this direct role, that I am considering as the new role for the commercial banks and non-banking financial companies. Through this direct role, there are many, you can say, indirect role which bank is fulfilling, and there are many traditional role mixed with the new role. And I think that this type of new areas where the commercial banks and the non-banking financial institutions were not very much concerned in few years back. So somehow this scheme is not only an opportunity for the some slum dwellers, not only an opportunity for the low income group people, not only an opportunity for the middle income group people, but to some extent it also have some linkage for the sustainability of our banking system and non-banking financial institutions, because this is the scheme which is linked by the government of India, and there is certain amount of subsidy provided, and so the people are motivated to buy the house. I have personally seen many people purchasing houses, low income group people and middle income group people purchasing houses in city like Devghar, uh, also in city like Hazaribagh and other places where the construction activities are now on a very full swing. And similar situations we are finding in other part of this country also. So with this note, I would again thank the organizer for giving me an opportunity to speak on a very contemporary topic, and I will be very happy to listen and to interact with the participants in this seminar. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Nalin, for such an enlightening discussion. I would now request Dr. Prasad Sundarajan, Professor, Social Thinker and author, CIMP, for his discussion. The topic of his discussion is accessing affordable and timely financial schemes for urban poor women. Sundararan
Uh,
sir, please.
okay, thank you, dear Ranjit Tiwari, uh, Sri Satyajit Rajan, Professor Nalin, and I cannot see the names of other people and students of Chandragupta Institute of Management, Patna. Yeah, this is a very salient concern for me. I am not a banker, nor I am a so-called. I don't belong to any income group per se. I am actually living in a district called Coimbatore in Tamil Nadu, rather the outskirts of Coimbatore. Not that much. Of course, this panchayat is a part of the Coimbatore city, and my location, my house is the only house because it's a mountainous region. My house is the only house near an area where about close to 325 the poorest of poor families are staying. And I'm here for the last 10 years. I can every day see them. And I am not a banker, but they misunderstand that I have some money because I have a second-hand Jeep and a scooter and a Pakka house. Definitely uh, during the COVID season, almost every week, a father, even a grandfather who cannot walk, come to the front house and with the folded hands will request for 50 rupees or 75 rupees, maybe 100 rupees. Of course, I have gone even up till 2000 rupees. And no doubt they would say, they would promise that tomorrow it will be returned. Next month it would be returned. And I don't think even, I don't think I got back even 5,000 rupees out of some, or close to 3 lakh rupees I have given to them over the last 6-7 years. I think you got a picture of the situation here. They all have what Professor Nalin said, some kind of a kacha house made of, like he also, I was surprised Nalin to use the concept of innovation. They are really very innovative. I can see the husband, wife, and the 2 children start building a house in the morning, and by evening it is complete. So they have a kind of a roof over their head. And perhaps all of you know, Tamil Nadu government is very, maybe even extravagant. They get about 15 kilos of rice free, and then 1 rupee per kilo, some 10 kilos of dal, and things like that. So they have the food, basically. And even I have only about 2 acres of land, and before knowing the situation, I cultivated wild trees in half of it, and the remaining half, seeing the plight of the people, I have given them free. They can cultivate and take the products. Now, the question I am concerned about is at least 20% of them are women, in the sense that, especially, let's say, average above the age of 40 to 45. And that age also, as a psychologist, as a kind of an observer, is important in the sense that by 40, 45, this kind of poor women lose their, what you call, attractiveness, to talk very plainly, and their husbands have left home. And their plight is really, really very tragic. Most of them suffer from not illnesses, but weaknesses of the body. Point number one. One is husbands have abandoned them, and I hope some of you may not know that Tamil Nadu has, for some centuries, a culture. A man is very free to go and adopt another woman and stay there. Right now only it is living in and all that, but Tamil Nadu has that practice for some centuries. So one day we will hear that the husband has adopted a chinna veedu in Tamil. Chinna veedu meaning a small house, another establishment. He simply goes away, vanishes one day after at least two children, and then he is vanished. And after 6 months or 1 year or sometimes never, they hear that the husband is some distant district and all that. So that's the background. So the point is that, the third point is that, first point, no husbands. Second point, they are very weak. Third point is that by the time they have children, more or less cross the class 10. Till then it is free. And some of them so-called plus 2, and obviously most of them failed in their subjects, so they're all there. That is by 15, 16, before 18. Between 16 and 18, they don't have anything to do. And by the new rule of the government of India, they cannot go for work. Only children below 18, sorry, above 18 can be going for work. Even then, I have seen that 16-year-old, 17-year-old and going for work. In the sense that these children are also not earning anything. And in this today's world, they're all going around little petty crimes. And just the morning they all vanish, and the evening they come back. Now, these ladies have no way. Even I have told them about microfinance, this kind of availabilities. Now, what I want to say is only a little point. That is from the angle, from the side, from the perspective of this part of not only women. I'm just talking about women. There may be full families also. They are, first of all, not at all aware of such programs of the government of India. The campaign does not reach them. Wait. And when I talked to some of them, they got a notice, or some panchayat president came there and called all of them. They get some monthly amount from the state government. I have seen, I do not know exactly, especially these women, I see them assembled, some 100, 200 people, and they get some 100 rupees or something like that. So in such meetings, the panchayat president or local political leader or somebody like that would come and talk about this, and they would vanish. But that does not give them any clear and firm and correct information. If at all informed, they do not have the mindset, they do not have the confidence. Like Nalin mentioned, obviously this kind of people I am referring to, I suppose almost all of them belong to, sorry to say, the lowest caste or community. And in the sense that even today, about 4 kilometers from my house, there's a small kind of a town. Not a town, not a collection of some shops and small hotels. And I go there to buy some dal or sugar and all that. A guy from this house or a woman from that house comes and stand at least 3 feet apart of the front. There's a front kind of a barrier, table upon which what you call the glass jars are kept with some thing, and then inside are the material. So when everybody can go near that wooden barrier and stand on them, these people will be standing about at least 2-3 feet outside and will be talking to them. And so that is the kind of community. How can such people ever get the confidence, the level of communication, the language required to go to such a place and talk to them? Talk to even the so-called microfinance people. They are dressed up in good jeans or pants and things like that, coming on bike and sitting there. So once in a while talking to them. As I understand, they don't have that basic confidence to interact with them and convince them about the need of money. And at least I know several, there are other plus 2 past students also. They're all going to some unknown institutions to do some little courses. They cannot go to major institutions because they don't have the money. So how to give them? They have, let us say, this kacha houses. I'm talking about that. And in between, I would like to add about another 16 kilometers close to the Coimbatore city. Already this kind of houses have been constructed and given to them. And for your information, those houses are given for rent. to some other people, like those who work in the city. Coimbatore is a very large city with a lot of small industries. Coimbatore is known as the Manchester of South India. There are a hell of a lot of small units. So these people can go, but they cannot go because of that age problem. So what I'm telling that in these so-called houses given to them, okay, a certain family, that family occupies that on the day when the minister or MLA come, whatever given to them, they get that key or whatever it is. And anyway, the situation is that more than at least 30 to 40% of those houses are given on rent to somebody else, and these people are again staying in the shackles. Like Nalin said, I know, I interact with a sort of family. Let us say that family is just behind the huge, not huge. Okay,
Sunil mother
now,
chode. Sunil fuck your mother.
yeah, a building just behind the HDFC Bank, Trichy Road, housing the sorry, not housing HDFC Bank, and behind the wall, exactly like Nalan said, there's a blue kind of a tarpaulin, and there is some kind of a division of some covering. And this family is doing some not craft work, making some domestic materials with sheets of bamboo, bamboo, and cutting and making it. So they have a house given, and they have given it on rent to two, three, four, five boys working in a nearby small restaurant. So housing, okay, that's a wonderful idea. But what I'm taking, what about their survival and sustenance, especially in the situation of at least 20, 25 families, for example, above that age? We are talking about the income group, lower income, middle income group. I'm talking about the age group. So what about they need a special consideration? They are weak, they are abandoned, and their children are hooligans. I mean, whatever, they don't make any money. If at all they make money, they just don't give it to their mother or father even. So the agency should have the magnanimity or that ability to empathize, ability to feel for these people and dedicate themselves to go and interact with them and hear the unspoken. They cannot talk properly. They cannot present their case. We do not know who is asking for what. And if at all, let us say, there is another lady, for example, she got some 10,000 rupees or whatever it is, and then the neighborhood people are thinking that they will also get that money. They don't understand how could she get the money. So they simply think that they can also get the money. Then the question of eligibility, they cannot afford to get a loan.
Hello.
There are some other problems.
Hello.
There should be a clear, efficient
Hello.
exchange of ideas, educating these people, conscientizing people, empowering these people to approach the
Is this
so-called.
Pakistani Urdu class?
Hello?
Who is this Anubhav Das Gupta? Kindly
Is this-
disconnect him.
Pakistan Urdu class? Jubbe.
Anubhav Das Gupta, can you please disconnect IT?
Okay.
Some unknown participants, I believe. Sorry for
All right.
inconvenience.
So that is one critical thing, that interface between the beneficiary and benefactor. All these wonderful programs are there. Basically, it is about housing. But I understand there should be, what is the point of living in a house without any income? How do they give that money back? How will you focus on another part of the marginalized group, abandoned group? And again, one more thing, in this place, in Coimbatore, in this area, there are a lot of slums. One so-called slum, that is full of another community. If I don't name them, you may not even guess. That community is the so-called transgenders. They are reasonably good, in good number, to my surprise also. So for the first time, for the last 10 years, I am living in this kind of area. Before that, I was in other so-called cities. So I had never seen these people. There are more than 250 transgenders in one location alone. Their plight is, absolute tragedy. They're not, their life, if you look at them, I think we cannot sleep for 2 3 days. They're absolutely abandoned. They have no income. They go around the shops begging for money, and they have. They are occupying some part of the slum rented out to them by other slum dwellers. Are they not entities? Are they not live entities here? They're also absolutely. They're also there in front of us, and these transgenders are very much in front of us. I am talking about Coimbatore area in Tamil Nadu. So anyway, I don't have much to say. That the leaders, the planners, the implementers, or the representatives or the agents who represent this wonderful program should be capable of sensing the reality of the domain and clearly identify, genuinely identify, sympathetically identify, concernfully identify the eligible benefactors at a given point of time very strategically. Because some of them are very clever and cunning also, to tell the fact. We may look at them as very poor, incapable kind of people, but they are very clever also. So, very cunning maybe. They may cheat or whatever it is. Even I have been cheated. One lady, because of my whatever, approached me and with another panchayat, not a panchayat member, some local leader, and said she wanted 25,000 rupees. That is a deposit money to some local government agency in order to collect some herbs and other materials from the nearby mountains. I told you I am living in Coimbatore. My other part is mountainous, which connects to Ooty, Kodaikanal and all that. Perhaps you might be aware. So that the total mountain area is divided into so many zones, and the government or forest department or something like that would auction it for various groups, a certain part for this kind of people, and similarly. And so this lady, I mean, of course, a tribal, so-called tribal-looking lady said, "Give me 25,000 rupees." And she asked if she was telling a truth. She said, "The fee is only 18,000 rupees. 7,000 rupees is for my other expenses to manage whatever is to be done with that 18,000 rupees." And she brought in, the other guy brought in what you call a stamp paper, and a document was written saying that after 1 year, she will give me that 1 year, some interest of that, plus the herbs or whatever collected, some gooseberry, things like that, a profit of whatever she collects from the mountains and whatever. And after there is a sound. Okay.
सुमित सुमित की वेबकास्ट बंद कर दीजिए.
Within a span of 2 months or so, someone told me.
Close the webcast. IT Sumit, please close the webcast.
To my sad,
Sumit, are you there? Sumit.
Yeah. To my disappointing surprise, that she eloped with somebody with that money. She already had 3 children. Abandoning them, she eloped. I'm just telling why it is mentioned is that there must be a dedicated team to interact with the beneficiaries, along with the officials concerned. Then only the real marginalized people can benefit out of this in terms of what I call long-term sustenance of their family, including for their education, their sanitation, especially water supply, as far as Coimbatore is concerned, and some kind of children's education. I don't know whether there can be provisions for this. Why not that also be something? Some creative plan should be devised. Otherwise, living in a house like that, if a given house may be rented out, that rented out is to pay back the money or something like that. Of course, you can imagine the rest of the things. I just wanted to say this, that there must be an interim, like the yeah, I don't know whether you know the gearbox of conventional automobile engines. Before the gear wheels, there's a synchronizing ring. So before first gear is put into second gear, that synchronizer goes and connect with the gear wheel. Then only the gear wheel enters. So similarly, there is a power wheel of the government of India, Prime Minister AWAS YOJANA, and things like that. And then the wheel to be driven, and there must be a synchronizer ring. That synchronizer ring is very small ring. So that ring also must be devised. Otherwise, the long-term sustenance and survival in a reasonable way in the very houses may not be that. It may perhaps remain as a dream for those who dreamed about it, about the wonder of developing this unfortunate people. That's all, my dear friends. Thank
Thank
you for
you.
listening to me.
Thank
And,
you, sir.
and I particularly request the attention of our beloved management students. Wherever, even if they're working in ITC or Colgate family or all that, if they come across somebody from the so-called slum area, poor area, just if you have time, enter into a dialogue with them and straight away cut across to their reality and give them little bit of advice or whatever you can. That's enough. You don't have to give them money. You don't have to give them anything. Maybe you're standing in a bus stand waiting for the bus. Then you can easily locate these people. Straight away enter into a dialogue. Straight away. And give them some guideline. That's what is going on all the time, all over the world. So this is my special request to everyone and um, our Chandragupta Institute of Management partner. Do that role as much as you can. Conscientize them, sensitize them about the requirements to uh, take advantage of this wonderful projects by the
Thank
governments and the people who work in the banks to
thank you,
help
sir.
them. All right. Thanks a lot for listening. Thanks a lot, Ranjit.
Thank you, Professor, for highlighting women issue and enlightening the audience. Now, may I request Mr. Rahul Gupta, National Head Treasury, Bajaj Housing Finance Limited, to discuss role of housing finance companies in facilitating access to finance for urban poor. Rahul, please.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are, but in between, I think we are having some disturbance because the
Yeah.
link has been shared on a public domain. So I think some outsiders are unnecessarily joining and kind of disturbing. But anyways, we are in the process of removing them as and when they come. Please, Rahul, you are audible. You may
Yeah.
proceed.
Thanks, Ranjit, and thanks, CIMP, for inviting me on this discussion. So I would be specifically talking about the role that the HFCs are playing in the financial inclusion and what are the challenges that they are facing. So I would be a little more talking only on the practical aspects, what the industry is facing. So if you look at the overall mortgage or the individual housing finance market in India, that is somewhere around more than 20 lakh crore. Out of that, only 35% is being financed through HFCs. The rest is with the banks. And the reason for banks being the largest player in this segment is probably one of the reason is because of their reach that they have in terms of their branch presence and all, and also because of their cost structures. Because they have access to the low cost CASA funds and the other FD sources, which are more stable, they are able to price the lending product in a fashion where the customers are more attracted to them, and it is in the disadvantageous situation, puts in a HFCs in a disadvantageous situation. So out of that 35% market, even if the HFCs are doing, if you see only top 3 to 4 HFCs, which are probably HDFC Limited or LIC Housing Finance or some of the bigger names only, are cornering probably 85% of the market. And the rest is by very small players which are not making much difference. So these schemes are actually helping us, the PMAI subsidy and the NHB refinance that the government is providing. So these schemes are actually helping in enhancing the mortgage market, also bringing in the new customers from different segments. And what it is also doing is that I was listening to Prasad sir previously. It is also bringing some change among the society, because the credit linked subsidy schemes that we have been talking about, in that if somebody wants to avail that credit linked subsidy scheme, the one of the owner of the property has to be co-owner of the property has to be a woman of the house also. So that is actually helping in bringing some social change within the lower strata of the society also. So what are the challenges actually faced by the HFCs here? So one, I talked about the reach in terms of and the cost of funds. The second is, if you see the liability side of the balance sheets of the HFCs, the around 30% of the funding comes from banks. So if you have to lend, let's say 100 rupees to a customer, 15 rupees can be put in by the promoter. The rest 85 has to come from somewhere else. Now that rest 85 is being borrowed through mutual funds, insurance companies, banks. They all participate in the liability side products. However, if we were talking about the top 3-4 large players, if you remove those 3-4 large players, the 70% funding comes from banks only. And if the banks are giving you some money, and then you have to go and compete with the banks only within that same segment, then you will not be able to offer the product at rate that banks are providing. The second challenges that the HFCs are facing, apart from the cost structure, is also on the asset liability management. You guys would hear about probably in your academic curriculars or so, or if you can research about that. Nowadays, investor community is more and more talking about the asset liability management, where let's say you are giving a loan for 10 years, but the liability that you are sourcing from the market through, let's say, bonds or bank loans, it is only for 3 years, and you're lending for 15 years, 20 years loan for housing loan. So you are actually creating a mismatch in your balance sheet, because you have to then have a refinance option every 3 years for your existing liabilities also. And when you go to the banks, because of the recent some turbulence in the market post the ILFS default and the DHFL default, banks and the other investor communities, they have turned risk averse, and now they are not offering too much moratorium, or they are not offering the long tenor funding to the HFCs. So if I have to borrow from the bank, and they are giving me only a 3-year loan with a moratorium of, let's say, 6 months or 1 year, that after 1 year I have to start paying to them. But my customer, where I would lend it to, he will pay me in 20 years. So that creates a mismatch between the assets and liabilities, and that is now at the forefront of the discussions among the investor communities. So these two challenges are quite a bit creating some hassles for the HFCs right now in India to manage their ALM and compete with the banks also. This, of course, comes from apart from the credit challenges that they face on the whenever they are going and funding loans to the urban poor segment, or the, let's say, affordable housing segment, that it is called. So for a HFC to go and do a meaningful job there in the affordable housing segment, first they have to create some other book also, which is much more stable, because that segment, affordable housing segment, is considered slightly risky. The defaults are much more there. So you have to first build your book on the other side also. So that would be kind of a salaried home loans or self-employed home loans, or the customers which have a better credit profile. And then they build some loan against properties and developer finance loan, which give them some margins and and some profitability for them to sustain. Then only they focus on the other segments also for diversification of their book. So they have to manage all those 3-4 things. However, when they compete with the banks already have so many products with them, so they can easily diversify their products and do the funding accordingly. But for HFCs, because we are operating only in the mortgage market, we have to then do sub-segments within the mortgage market, and then we have to manage both. However, if the government support is now actually increasing for the HFC space also, and the government is thinking that the if we have to grow this mortgage market, or we have to reach to the lower strata of the society also, we have to strengthen the HFC side much more, and they are continuously doing it through budgetary allocations to the NHB, and then NHB refinances that portfolio for us and gives us at least a slightly lower cost of fund on that side. So just to at least get the higher margin on that side also, now HFCs are moving into this segment, in the affordable housing segment, to get the refinance at least from the NHB. So that's all from my side. That was the perspective from the HFC side. And if at all there are any questions, I'll be happy to take.
Thank you, Rahul. Thank you for illuminating the participants by discussing the role of housing finance companies. Now, may I request Shri Satyajit Rajan for his discussion on housing finance for urban poor in Kerala, Kudambashri as a focal point.
Sir, Satyajit Rajan sir has just left. He has sent
Okay. Also, okay, we have an update. See, Satyajit Rajan cannot join us due to some unavoidable reason, but he has, I believe, has shared an audio link with his views, which we shall be playing now. Sumit, please do the needful.
Yes, sir.
Once the last discussion is over, then we'll open the forum for question answers, and in case the panelists have some further discussions to be made.
The topic is role of banks, housing finance companies and microfinance institutions in facilitating access to finance for urban poor in all verticals of PMAY. So what is the role of banks, etc., in providing finance in all verticals of PMAY? That is the topic, sir. So we'll start with what is PMAY. PMAY is Prime Minister's AWAS YOJANA Urban. Government of India's flagship scheme to provide house to all the houseless people before 2022 in all the urban areas of the country. That was the original aim. And sir, the important point is in all the verticals of PMAY. So what are the verticals of PMAY? There are 4 vertical components of this PMAY urban program. First vertical is called BLCN, Beneficiary Led Construction New. So if a person is having land and he or she is constructing a house in that particular land, that is called BLC, Beneficiary Led Construction. So in that vertical, Government of India will be giving 1.5 lakh per house. That is one component, sir.
मतलब नहीं 16 से मतलब नहीं, हमारा क्लासरूम तो बड़ा है ना, तब क्लासरूम दिखाना है। हाँ वो तो ठीक है।
Ranjit, you can put yourself on mute.
Sorry.
So the audio is over.
Is the audio over, Sumit?
Yes, the audio is over, so we can.
Okay, fine. I shall now open the forum for question. The students, participants, in case you have any question, or the other panel members, if they have any other views to make. So let me first go to the student participants. In case you have any question.
Yes.
Please go ahead. Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. Sir, in India, sir has also highlighted that lack of awareness is a major issue while providing the institutional credit. There is one another issue, that lack of essential required documents such as PAN, ITR, and so on. So most of the urban poor are generally the migrants of the rural areas, and how banks and other financial institutions are facilitating them to get the institutional linkages.
Okay, so I mean,
Can I
yeah.
answer this
Yeah,
question?
please, Nalin sir, please.
Yeah, things are improving little bit now, because one nation, one ration card scheme is going to be implemented in various states, and whole country will have this scheme now. And as you know that this type of ration card will be also sufficient enough to get certain benefits from the government. So all these things are now digitalized. Many states after COVID-19 was and you can say one of the challenge, also one of the opportunity for the state to understand what are the importance of database. States like Bihar and the other states are working on that, and probably after, I think, 1 year, things will be in a much better stage, and these poor people will certainly get the benefit.
Sir, please unmute.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
So in case we have any other question.
Good afternoon, everyone. So my question is that it was just mentioned that as per the scheme, it is mandatory for the female head of the family to be the owner or the co-owner of the house. But at the same time, we all are aware about the situation of the women in our nation, and most probably, obviously, about the economically weaker sections. So most of them are uneducated and are also not aware about such schemes, that it can actually help them. And even if they are aware, they do not possess the resources, as many of them, all of them in fact, are dependent on someone else. So will having a mandatory female owner actually help them, and what steps are being taken to help them know about it and get the loans?
Yeah, so I would like to take this question. Actually, what happens is, let's say, in the economically weaker section where this credit rating subsidy scheme is there. So when they are buying a house, or let's say they are constructing something, and they want a loan and from a housing finance institution or from a bank institution, the role played by the HFCs and banks at that point of time becomes very important, because then they tell the customer that you will be in benefit if you opt for this. And if at that level, probably if that customer is getting to know that he will save at least around 1.5 or 2 lakhs rupees depending on his loan amount, then he would definitely want to make changes in the ownership structure, probably whenever he's entering into that property document or so, something like that. Then if he's getting something out of it, then he'll definitely want to change the structure. Otherwise, normally they don't know norm. But if the it is being pushed from the bank side or the HFC side that okay, you will save at least this much amount, then they definitely go and opt for it. Otherwise, it is told to them upfront that your application for this credit link subsidy scheme might get rejected. So nobody wants to leave that money if they are able to get. Yeah.
So a related question to the panelists. I mean, can't we not have any innovative thing? Because see, if you are giving such schemes to the poorest of poor sections of the society, and wherein we already have this information beforehand that they will have these problems, so can't we not fix these issues, beforehand through some policy interventions at government level? I mean, it just came to my mind. I mean, any of the panelists, if would like to respond.
No, I think it can be done, but thing is from the government point of view, if they want to provide this scheme from the housing for all segment, and they want to specifically focus on that housing segment, first they have to see ki, okay, whoever is buying it, that customer has to come forward, or probably he has some urge, he has some money, and he needs some push from the government side to just go and make the purchase. So otherwise, anyways, government keeps on doing a lot of things at various levels, and they try to educate the people. In this, probably some efficiencies can be brought out, or the what I'm thinking is that these kind of webinars that they are trying to conduct, probably it is for that only, that this makes these schemes much more visible to the other people, and then they come to know somehow about this.
So between the lines, what I can read is that if the government can provide some sort of guarantee, to the customers, because if it is a credit-linked subsidy scheme, and if it is the banker or the financial institutions who have to, give the loan, then some sort of guarantee has to come from government side, so that the poorest of the poor can avail the benefits. Otherwise, in a way, it is going to go to the to the class who already have, who have the things. Otherwise, the
No,
purpose.
so that has been restricted actually. So because it is divided into subparts, Professor Nalin has already spoken about this. It is for the EWS and LIG, which is economically weaker section and lower income group, and then the MIG. So now the MIG part has been discontinued from this year onwards, which was for people earning money from 6 lakhs to 12 lakhs and 12 lakhs to 18 lakhs. Even they were also aware of getting the subsidy benefit. But now it has been restricted to only EWS and LIG category, and where the income norms are already defined. Okay, if the person is earning up to 6 lakh rupees, he will get this much amount if he takes the 20-year home loan from the banks or financial institutions. The only challenge here is the normally, because the banks are commanding the large part of the market, and banks are generally slightly slow because they wait for the customer to come to them and then disburse the loan. If you involve private players or the HFCs and you make them much more, they go to the customer and they find the customer for them. They have the hunger for growth. So that becomes a slightly better proposition, because these people will ultimately go and set up their camps or something like that. They would want to grow their business. But banks is normally the customer anyways knows the branch, and then he comes and he inquires about these things.
Okay. So I'll invite, if there are any other questions from student side or any other participants.
I think there is a question in the chat box. Is there any awareness program run by the government for this scheme?
Okay.
Uh,
Please.
I have no idea. Maybe Mr. Gupta, Rahul Gupta can answer this question.
So I also don't see anywhere, probably other than their holdings, or they do it through that. Whenever probably through news channels also they would be doing something. But any concrete, anything being done on the specifically on the slum side or the urban poor side, I don't see that much. It is mainly kind of a push scheme that has been pushed from probably the banks and the financial institutions.
Yeah, but I have seen some people in Jharkhand region. They were much aware about these schemes, and there are something going on in Devghar and nearby area, in Ranchi or nearby area, where people have started taking the interest in purchasing house, low income group people.
So maybe government, of course, might be doing certain things to disseminate the information, and probably this is one of the format through which the information will get disseminated, because we are specifically talking about Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana in urban region. So the stakeholders in a way become slightly different than the rural areas. In a way, let me invite other questions from the student community if they have any.
Good afternoon, sir. My question is regarding the target completion. That means the 20 million is the target. till now the houses has been sanctioned, the loans has been sanctioned is around 11.3 million, and the completed houses is around only 50 lakhs. That means 5 million. Sir, how could we achieve it within a 6 months? Means the completion date is around March 2022. So, what are the schemes or what are the initiatives that the banks or the government is taking that to achieve that particular target?
So, as we know that the deadline is very close, so it is also true that uh, reaching the main target is not so easy. If the help from the financial institutions, banking institutions are not, as Rahul has already pointed out, that the public sector banks are little slow in that case, and if the private participation from the private banks can also start, so the speed will be little more faster. So one thing is the demand side, another thing is the supply side. So in terms of demand side, we have a huge demand, but in terms of supply side, it is not free house. It has to be added with certain other, you can say, logistic supports from the banking institutions. So it is up to the government that what type of extension government provides and what type of new, we can say that add-on, or you can say Pradhan Mantri AWAS Yojana for urban plus. So there must be some plus in this scheme in terms of providing logistics. Then only we will be able to fulfill the target as soon as possible.
Thank you.
So one more question, sir. It's regarding that. Is that the process involved in the application process for this? That means we have to apply through the PMAY website, and then we have to produce this into the bank. So if we can simplify this process, can avoid the hindrance of sanctioning the loans. So how can we overcome that particular?
So that process also is actually a slightly cumbersome process for the financial institutions also. So at the time of loan application, only the customer signs whatever the related documents or forms we have to submit on the with the nodal agency. The time it takes is 6 months for the subsidy to come into the customer's account. That definitely can be reduced because the government is providing, what I've heard is that the government is providing the upfront money with the NHB, and then they have to disburse. Now, if the financial institutions, they upload these cases in batches. So let's say if I've uploaded one batch 6 months back, then I can't upload in between anything unless until that the old batch has been cleared. So you can't keep on just doing this. So these things create process hindrances also for the institutions. So if these things can be sorted out, it's not that it's a big challenge, because already the customer's documents have been given. So let's say the NHB wants some time to verify those things, and after that they will clear the subsidy. At least they can allow in the meantime the whatever other customers are coming, they can we can keep on uploading the other documents for the newer customers. So we don't have to wait for the 5-6 months. This process can be shortened, but this has to come from the government. That push has to be from the government side to the NHB. Because otherwise what they do is, whatever money they have received from the government, they will invest in some securities or something like that, and they will earn petty interest on that. Rather than that, if you give that money to the customer, he will save that interest for that 6 months period at least. If he gets that money in 1 month, he'll save the interest for 5 months. And in the initial part of the loan, whenever you take a loan, in the initial part of the loan, the interest portion is slightly higher. If your principal reduces at that point of time only, you will get much more benefit out of this same scheme, and where the burden will also not go to the government. But the thing is that these things need to come from the government side, and push has to come from there.
Okay, fine. So we shall take no more questions now, because we have some mandate to showcase videos and life transformation stories of Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana urban beneficiaries So we shall now play some videos of the beneficiaries, and then we'll try to conclude the session. Sumit, please do the needful.
सर आपका नाम क्या है?
जी मेरा नाम अवधेश कुमार, फादर नेम शंभू प्रसाद गुप्ता, इंदिरा नगर वार्ड।
योजना जो आपका नाम आया है, इसका जानकारी आपको कैसे मिला?
ये आवास लॉकडाउन और कोरोना काल के बीच होने की वजह से हम लोग अपने घर में ही थे और व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप में ऐड किया गया प्रधानमंत्री आवास योजना। जब हमने इस ग्रुप को मोबाइल में देखा तो मुझे ऐसा लगा कि ये ग्रुप है क्या, और उसमें हर तरह की जानकारियाँ आ रही थी, क्योंकि मुझे ये भी नहीं मालूम था कि मेरी नाम प्रधानमंत्री आवास योजना में स्वीकृत होगा। और जब इस ग्रुप में मुझे ऐड किया गया तो हमने इस ग्रुप के एडमिन को जब मैंने कॉल किया, ये ग्रुप क्या है, किस चीज का ग्रुप है, क्योंकि नाम थोड़ा सा अजीब लग रहा था। तो बताया गया तो हमारी बात इस योजना के हेड ऑफ द डिपार्टमेंट, जो कहा जाए मैं उतना नहीं जानता कि मैं नाम भी ठीक से ना पूछ सके उस समय, और अभी भी मुझे नहीं नाम पता। तो उन्होंने बताया कि प्रधानमंत्री आवास योजना में आपका नाम आया है और आपको आधार कार्ड वगैरह जो भी पेपर है आपको सबमिट करना है, क्योंकि इसका लास्ट डेट है। तो हमने कहा कि सर हम थोड़ी सी दूर है यहाँ से, लगभग 200 किलोमीटर, और मैं कैसे आ सकता हूँ इस कोरोना के काल में, अब कैसे पेपर समय से जमा कर सकता हूँ। तो फिर उनके द्वारा मुझे ये बताया गया कि ठीक है कि आप व्हाट्सएप पर उस पेपर को भेजिए, उस ग्रुप पर फोटो को भेजिए और उस पेपर को वहाँ ऐड कर दिया जाएगा और आपकी परेशानी दूर हो जाएगी, आपको आने की कोई आवश्यकता नहीं है। और जब मैं इस तरीके से उनसे बात किया तो मैं तो चकित हो गया कि नगर परिषद में ऐसे भी कार्यकारी लोग हैं जो अभी तक नगर परिषद के इतिहास में जो हमने जन्म लिया है आज तक ऐसे लोग नहीं।
थैंक यू इस बात के लिए। हम लोग कोरोना के समय में हमारा स्वीकृत हुआ था 622 लोगों का। उस बीच में हम लोग घर पे जाके लोगों को बोल नहीं सकते थे, इसलिए हमने उस ग्रुप को बनाया ताकि कुछ कागज मिसिंग होता है डीपीआर अटैच करने के लिए, जो विभागीय प्रोसेस है, ताकि पैसा समय से हमारा आए और आपका भी काम आगे भी सही से चले। इसलिए हमने आपसे व्हाट्सएप के माध्यम से सारा पेपर कलेक्ट किया, उसका डीपीआर अटैच किया। इसका फलस्वरूप हुआ कि हमारा ये 5वां फेज स्टार्ट हुआ समय पे। आगे भी आप लोगों को इसी प्रकार से असिस्ट किया जाएगा जैसे अभी किया जा रहा है। कार्यादेश है, चाहे आपका फोटोग्राफी हुआ या फिर पेमेंट हुआ, ये सब भी हम लोग के तरफ से ट्रांसपेरेंसी को बरतने के लिए हर वो चीज किया जाता है वो जो हम लोग कर सकते हैं। तो आपसे मिलके बहुत खुशी हुई और आप ही लोगों का
आपको खुशी, हमें खुशी हुई कि नगर परिषद के इतिहास में शायद ये पहली घटना है कि कोई ऐसे कर्तव्यनिष्ठ लोग हैं। अगर आपके तरफ लोग आवास योजना का जो हो रहा है काम, और जिस तरीके से सूचना दी जा रही है, यहाँ तक बिना पैसे लिए तो लोग जानकारी तक नहीं देते हैं, और यहाँ तो मुफ्त में घर बैठे सूचना दी जा रही है व्हाट्सएप के माध्यम से कि यहाँ ये करो, वो करो, ऐसे करो, वैसे करो। शायद ये नगर परिषद के इतिहास के पहली घटना है।
थैंक यू इस बात के लिए बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
We shall play 1 or 2 more videos. So there is a mandate of 10 minutes to showcase the life transformation stories of the beneficiaries of PMAY Urban. Sumit, please do the needful. Sumit?
बोलिए। हमारा नाम हरिंदर साहब है। हम आरब
Okay, the other videos.
पहले बरसात में इतना दिक्कत रहे कि बैठ के बिहान करे के पड़त रहे।
Sumit, are you there? Please.
मेरा नाम विनीता देवी, मेरे पति का नाम शिव कुमार कनौजिया और मेरा मोहल्ला नूरबाग टिकई नगर जिला बाराबंकी टाउन के रहने वाले। और मेरे पति मतलब 8,000 रुपया मेहनत मजदूरी करके कमाते हैं। मेरा घर पहले बहुत कच्चा था, बहुत परेशानी होती थी, मेरे बच्चे छोटे छोटे, बहुत परेशानी होती थी। पानी गिरता था, नुकसान होता था, खाने पीने में पानी बहुत गिर जाता था, कच्चे घर पे चढ़ते उतरते थे, गिर जाते थे। अब मोदी जी ने मुझको 2.5 लाख रुपया दिया, मेरा घर सही सलामत बन गया। बहुत से बहुत धन्यवाद, शुक्रिया।
હું અનિલ જયંતિભાઈ ટંકારિયા ખત્રીવાડ પાલાવડ શીતલામાં રહું છું. ઘરમાં અમે 4 સભ્યો છીએ. હું, મારી પત્ની અને 2 બાળકો. મારું પહેલાંનું મકાન 50 વર્ષ જૂનું હતું, જે કુદરતી આફતમાં સાવ જર્જરિત થઈ ગયું હતું. ચોમાસાની ઋતુમાં વરસાદમાં પણ પાણી પડતું હતું. હું સિલાઈ કામનો ધંધો કરું છું. મારી કોઈ એવી પરિસ્થિતિ નહોતી કે મારી બચત કરીને મકાન રિપેરિંગ અથવા નવું બનાવી શકીએ. હું માનનીય વડાપ્રધાન શ્રી નરેન્દ્રભાઈ મોદી તથા વિજયભાઈ રૂપાણીનો આભાર માનું છું કે એમને ગરીબો વિશે વિચાર્યું અને અમને બાંધકામ કરવા સહાય કરવાની યોજના અમલમાં મૂકી. આ યોજનાની મદદથી મેં મારું જૂનું મકાન પાડીને નવું મકાન બનાવ્યું છે અને મારું મકાન બનાવવાથી હવે હું નિર્ભયપણે ઘરની બહાર જઈ શકું છું અને મારા કુટુંબને સુવિધાયુક્ત જીવન આ યોજનાના સહારે આપી શક્યો છું. તે બદલ ખૂબ ખૂબ આભાર.
हम नंदा नगर वार्ड नंबर 8 के रहने वाले हैं और मेरा पहले कच्चा का मकान था और बरसात में बहुत हम लोग को दिक्कत होती थी, पानी भर जाता था, हम लोग बहुत परेशान होते थे। अब हमारा जो प्रधानमंत्री आवास योजना का पता चला तो मैं नगर निगम गया, वहाँ से हमने भरा और मेरा पैसा आ गया। आज मेरा पक्का मकान है और लिंटर लगा हुआ है। आज हम बहुत खुश हैं, आज हर चीज़ से हम सक्षम हैं और मैं सब्जी बेचता हूँ, ठेला लगाता हूँ, इसी से हमारा गुजारा चलता था। इतना हम सक्षम नहीं थे कि हम अपना घर मकान बनवा सके। आज मोदी जी की कृपा से आज हम पक्के मकान में हैं।
हमारा नाम राधा शर्मा है, ये हमारी माता है, माता का नाम अनारपति है। हम नएगंज में रहते हैं, नएगंज रुकौली अयोध्या में। पहले हमारा घर कच्चा था, मेहनत मजदूरी करते थे, 2,500-3 हज़ार रुपया इनकम है महीना की। और पहले घर हमारा कच्चा था, चूल्हा मत जलाते थे तो घर में पानी भर जाता था पानी लगने की वजह से। अब प्रधानमंत्री का धन्यवाद करते हैं, अब हमें पक्की छत मिल गई है, पक्का घर मिल गया है। हम प्रधानमंत्री का धन्यवाद करते हैं।
I think it's over.
Yeah, sir.
Sumit?
We are done with audio and video.
Fine. So the objective was to, to share the videos and live transformation stories to, in a way, showcase that the transformation is taking place, even though the pace may be, not that significant. But even if it is sanctioned, not constructed, still, one can say that the milestone has half achieved. Fine. So, as per the reports, what we can learn is that 1 crore plus houses have been either sanctioned or constructed. So the construction part may be, 50% of that, but even if it is sanctioned, it's a great achievement. So we are at the close of the program of this event. So let me take this opportunity to propose, the vote of thanks on behalf of Chandragupta Institute of Management, Patna. We are thankful to Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, Government of India, for AWAS per Samvad initiative. We are also thankful to AICTE for implementing the initiative and giving CIMP this opportunity to organize this event from Bihar chapter.